Hello students, welcome to this video. In today's video, I will take up the chapter Lost Spring from your Flamingo book. This chapter, Lost Spring, is written by a very famous, a very noted columnist, journalist, a prolific writer named Alice Junk. Now, before going deep into the story, before summarizing, before explaining the story, I would like to comment on the very title of the story, The Lost Spring. In this story, here, the author beautifully points out the pitiable and the miserable condition of young children of school-going age in different parts of our country. Students, you might be aware of the term child labor. Here, in this story, the concept of child labor, the description of child labor, their life, their challenges have been beautifully portrayed in this story. The very name, Lost Spring, this is very symbolic. Why am I saying so? Because, imagine, among so many seasons, spring is the most comfortable, is the most soothing period. It is the most preferable season by all. It is preferred by all. So, in human life also, the most delicate, the most comfortable time is childhood. So, spring is actually referring to the period of being a child. Please understand. The season spring is being compared to the childhood. Now, we can ask yourself, why lost is given here? Because when you say lost spring, you actually mean to say that childhood which has been denied the basic things of childhood. Lost child. In simple words, we can summarize the name, we can explain the name as lost childhood. Why lost childhood? For example, if you take up the life of a rag picker, if you take up the life of a child labor, will the life of a child labor be same as the life of a school-going boy? Never. It cannot be. The life of a child labor is completely different from that of a school-going boy. Any child should go to school. Any child deserves the need to go to school. Any child deserves the right to go to school. And it has to be there, and it is there. But unfortunately, in our country, it is one of the major social problems. You must have seen in your own life, and we have all seen it, we have all experienced that in our own life. Many children, they have been denied their basic right to education, and they are forced to employ themselves as child labor. It denies the basic right of those children, that is, right to education. That is why the name of the story is Lost Spring. You must be very, very careful in understanding this. Spring symbolizes childhood, and lost means denial of the basic enjoyment of childhood, carefree life, that is. Here, this story is divided into two parts. In the first part of the story, the protagonist is Sahib, a boy, Sahib. The full name is Sahib-e-Alam. And in the second part, the protagonist of the story is Mukesh, who is a bangle maker, who belongs to a family of bangle makers. So let me start with this part. Sahib. Here, Sahib is a boy who lives in outer parts of Delhi. The name of the place is Simapuri. Now, Sahib is basically a rag picker. Who is a rag picker? You must have seen little boys collecting rags, collecting insignificant things from street, and they gather those things in their sack. That is Sahib. Please note The name of the protagonist is Sahib-e-Alam, which means Lord of the Universe. But just see, the meaning of the name Sahib-e-Alam and his lifestyle, do they match with each other? Not at all. The name Sahib-e-Alam means that Lord of the Universe, the King. But his lifestyle is that of a rag picker. So it cannot match. Sahib has been denied. He doesn't go to school. Denied the right of schooling. He does not go to school. He picks up rags and he lives on that. His family has migrated from Bangladesh to Delhi, that is Simapuri. There he picks on rag picking. He lives on rag picking. Rag, the normal thing, which is a waste to all of us, but to them it is the means of survival. Boys, please understand, rag, by the word rag, I actually mean to say waste of things. Whatever things we throw down, those things are collected by this boy, Sahib. And he has been denied the basic necessity, the basic demand of going to a school. This is the first part of the story. As it says, sometimes I find a rupee in the garbage. Garbage. When he was searching in garbage, sometimes he finds a rupee. And that rupee brings joy to this boy, Sahib. The condition was such, he doesn't have proper shoe to wear. And in the first part of the story, the author beautifully explains her interaction with Sahib. How she interacts and how she comes to know about the life stage, about the lifestyle of this boy, Sahib. This must be understood. His parents have come from Bangladesh while there was a famine, and they have settled down in Simapuri. Simapuri, this is a place quite near to Delhi. And Delhi is the national capital, a metropolitan city. In spite of living near to Delhi, but their lives are far away from that of the people of Delhi. Because in those cities, people lead a luxurious life. The people who have money. But they means the family of Sahib, they live a very meager existence. They live an insignificant existence because of their financial problem. They don't have proper education by which they can employ themselves. They don't have proper guidance by which they can employ in any other activities. Such is the condition of Sahib. It must be understood. Sahib loves to go to school. She loves to play tennis. He loves to play tennis. But he didn't have the opportunity. Or I should say, he didn't have the luxury to go to school because his financial condition did not allow him to go to school. He was forced to employ himself as a rag picker. As the story goes on, Sahib changes his profession. Previously he was a rag picker. But as the story unfolds, we come to know Sahib changed his profession from being a rag picker. He employed himself in a tea stall as a child labor. Here there is a piece of irony. There is a piece of irony. What is that? Please understand. Initially, Sahib was a rag picker. Rag picker means one who collects rag. And Sahib could move freely according to his own choice, according to his own preference. For example, if Sahib desires to go to this part of the city, he can go. But now, at the end of the story, at the end of the first part rather, Sahib, we find that Sahib has changed his profession. I shouldn't use the word profession, but Sahib has changed his way of living. He has employed himself in a tea stall, and the tea canister that he carries, that is his trademark. That has become his trademark, you can say. And there is a line in the story which says that although he is Sahib-e-Alam, but he is not the master of his own life, because when he has employed himself under a tea stall owner, he has lost his freedom. And his name, his very name, Sahib-e-Alam, suggests freedom, Lord of the universe. But rather, he is living a very insignificant life. He was given rupees 800. He was given rupees 800 as he has employed himself under in a tea stall. By this money he would survive. But the important thing the author points out, the writer very beautifully points out, that is, he has lost his freedom. And that is the irony. His name is Sahib-e-Alam, who is the master of the universe, but he is not the master of his own life. He has lost his freedom. Here also, the idea which I have portrayed, the idea of lost spring, you can relate this to the life of Sahib. Don't you think that the little boy Sahib, who should go to school, but has been forced to be a rat picker, or subsequently has been forced to become a tea seller, a tea stall, or he has become a child labor? Don't you think that this boy Sahib is missing the youthful spirit of a child? Herein lies the success of this entitlement, Lost Spring. This is the first part of the story, Sahib. In this video, I try to summarize this concept. Afterwards, I will come to the second part, that is Mukesh. Now, in the second part, the concept is the same, that is lost spring. And Sahib and Mukesh, they are two faces. As if they have been described representatives of child laborers. Sahib is a rat picker living in Simapuri area of Delhi. Although Simapuri is quite near to Delhi, but his life is far away from the lives of Delhi people. Geographically, he is near to Delhi, but as far as the life stages, life standards are concerned, his life is completely different from those of Delhi people. And I also explained the irony, the name and his way of life. Now comes Mukesh. Who is Mukesh? Mukesh is the protagonist of the second part. Here, in the second part, Mukesh is a boy from Firozabad, UP, Uttar Pradesh, UP, Firozabad. And he belongs to a family of bangle makers. Students, we all know who are bangle makers, the people who make bangles. And Mukesh belongs to that family. His predecessors, his father and the forefathers, they have employed themselves in the profession of bangle making. And Mukesh was also forced to be a bangle maker. But as the story will unfold, we will come to see how Mukesh dreams to be a motor mechanic. I will come to that. So Mukesh is a bangle maker living in Firozabad, Uttar Pradesh. Now in Firozabad place, maximum family members, maximum household members, they are bangle makers. So, and they believe, since bangle is used in marriages, they believe that bangle making is a divine position. Bangle making is a divine work rather. And they accept this bangle making vicious circle. They are denying basic human rights. Their life form, the way they are living is extremely deplorable. And they are caught in a very vicious trap. They take money from normal people and they are worst in repaying that money. And they accept this as their destiny. So we can say they lack the basic courage to come out of that. And one more thing, when we will read the story, we will find that is because of constant work of bangle making, many of the bangle makers they have lost proper eyesight, because when people are making bangle, you need a very focused attention, a continuous work in a dingy atmosphere, in an atmosphere that denies proper air circulation, in an atmosphere that denies proper hygiene. That is why many of these bangle makers, they have lost their eyesight, or their eyesight is partially damaged, affected. It is in this situation Mukesh emerges, and Mukesh is one who has the courage to dream something beyond this. Mukesh is one who has the freedom, who has the courage to think beyond this profession, that is bangle making. Now what does Mukesh expect? Mukesh desires, Mukesh thinks that one day he would become a motor mechanic. Now you can ask me, sir, do you think that motor mechanic is a good profession? Not at all. But why it is important here is that in that situation where people accept their work as their destiny, where people lack the courage to go against the tradition, at least Mukesh has the courage to say, to express his opinion that no, I will not become a bangle maker, but I will try to be a motor mechanic. That is the most important thing, students. Please understand. And you must know that it is clear in the story, the elder family members in Firozabad, they do not allow the young one to go to other profession. Rather, they prefer the young ones to follow the same family profession, that is bangle making. It is in this situation, boys, Mukesh dreams of becoming a motor mechanic. Becoming a motor mechanic is not a very good option, but at least he has the courage to go against the tradition. That is the most important thing in this part. So, the story beautifully portrays two of the protagonists. One is Sahib and the other one is Mukesh. Now, if you read the story, when we read the story, we will come to know the lives of these bangle makers are very miserable. They are worst hit by administrative problems. Sometimes police, sometimes local administration, they torment them or they embarrass them. And also, needless to say, there is a financial crisis in their family. So their life is very miserable, pitiable, deplorable condition. That is why the very title of the story, Lost Spring, is very significant in this regard. Now, another thing I must say, sometimes the condition is such that they are forced to starve. Their eyesight is affected, as I have said earlier, because they are exposed to flame. When they make bangle, they are exposed to flame. This must be noted down. So, one characteristic that comes up very clearly of Mukesh is that he is determined. He is sincere in his approach. Why is he determined? Because he is determined that he will not toe the line of becoming a banker. bangle maker. He is determined because he will not toe the line. He will not follow the line, the family line of becoming a bangle maker. Rather, he will become a motor mechanic. I want to drive a car. That is the heading of this title. And here we find out an extreme sense of optimism. Why optimism, students? Because, as I have said, in that situation, living in that situation, Mukesh has at least the desire to become a motor mechanic. That is very important thing as per the writer and his chart. And she has written many articles, many stories about the social problem. And this story very beautifully brings out one of the major social problems of our country, that is child labor. In many parts of the country, we find that students, young children, they are forced to work, to employ as a child labor. Thank you, boys. In this video, I will finish it here. In my next video, I will try to explain the story line by line. Thank you.